All right. Well, once again, welcome. My name is Kaylee Davis. I use she, her pronouns. I am a graduate assistant here in the Wellness Education Office, and one of my primary roles is mentoring Frog Life educators and supporting their programming. And it's honestly the most fun part of my job. And I've been doing it for going on 5 years now. So I'm really excited to share about our program, how it impacts campus, and then how it can impact you as a leader. This is going to be interactive. So as we go through, I'm going to ask you guys some questions. Once again, that chat is open. And then if at any point you have a question while I'm speaking, go ahead, put it in the chat, and we'll have time for questions at the end as well. We also have someone else on the call here with us.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Javon Lynn Javanis. I also use she, her pronouns. And welcome so much to this info session. So I am the Assistant Director for Wellness Education and Health Promotion at the TCU Rec Center. I work with Kaylee, overseeing our Frog Life Educators program, and will be a primary contact for you all going forward in the process. And also, I will mention if you feel comfortable, feel free to come off mute and ask your question live if you would like, but certainly we want to make sure everybody's comfortable communicating. But we really appreciate you joining us this morning. So I will turn it back over to Kaylee and then I'll jump on later on in the presentation again.
All right, so let's go ahead and jump in. I first have a question for you all. Are students more likely to seek advice from peers or faculty and staff members? What do you think?
I would probably think a faculty member.
Okay, yeah, tell us more about that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
Yeah,
thought that
go
was it.
ahead.
I think people like to go towards the person who probably has the most wisdom. Like
Okay, I
if I
like that.
if if I were to be taught by someone, I guess I want somebody who's been through more life experiences.
All right, so you're looking for somebody who maybe has some more wisdom, has been there before. Okay, I like that. I see in the chat we have peers. Do you want to add anything to that, Emma?
Yeah, I just say peers because they probably feel more comfortable talking to them and being open with them.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to advance to our next slide. But I think you both brought up really great points. What a peer educator is, it's that blend of having the knowledge and the experience, but also that relatability that sometimes faculty and staff don't have. So it's been a while since Yvonne and I have been in college. I mean, we work on a college campus, but we don't know the ins and outs, and we don't know what professors to take or the best time to access the rec or something like that. So when you have a peer to talk to, it kind of opens up that conversation a little bit easier, having those firsthand experiences. So we'll talk a little bit later about how we educate and train our peer educators. But what we do is we help you build that knowledge base so you become that mix of somebody with wisdom and experience and knowledge, but also that relatable peer that they're looking for. Also, to add to that, what's really powerful about peer education is once you have this knowledge and you go into the other organizations that you're involved in, or if you go out with your friends, you're just expanding knowledge on campus, even outside of our programming, right? So you might be with a group of friends and share with them something that you learned outside of event planning. So we'll go into event planning here in a second as well. All right. So who are we? Frog Life educators are a part of campus recreation and wellness promotion. So we're housed in the rec center in the basement. I think we're a hidden gem down there. We have a lot of fun, um, but also make a big impact. So a main part of it is to educate you. So you have the power to educate your peers and inform them of different lifestyle habits and well-being skills that will help them in college and then hopefully beyond that. We also want to help them make decisions based on their personal values. So our programming uses something called a harm reduction lens. So we lean out of judgment and lean into helping people make the best health choices for themselves. So, as a peer educator, you really get to have those intentional conversations about if you choose to drink, here are some strategies you can use to be safe. Or if you choose to use a substance, or how can we're doing a technology campaign right now. So, how can you engage mindfully with technology? So, kind of leaning into that, how can we navigate the world with a healthy lens? All right. I also want to note that we have a variety of majors in our peer educators. You'll see a lot of health majors because it's wellness related, but you can literally have any major. We have stratcom majors, we have education majors. Um, your major can help you be a successful peer educator, but it's not. Not one specific one is better than the other for this role. And we even actually like having that variety because once again, you're in different spaces and you're in different classes and you bring a different lens to it. So any background, experience, major, academic departments, you're all welcome to apply to be a Frog Life educator. All right, so what exactly do we do? You keep hearing me mention we do some training, so you guys have the knowledge to share. And what we do that through is retreats. So at the beginning of the semester, we have about a 2-day long retreat where you are taught everything from that harm reduction approach to marketing to how to plan an event. We really give you a foundation of how to be successful as a peer educator. All you need to come in with is a passion for well-being. If you have that, you are ready to be a peer educator. And then along with our retreats, we have weekly training. So every Thursday from 4 to 5, we have our weekly meeting. And during our weekly meeting, we take some time to plan every once in a while, but we really spend it giving you more content knowledge. So we'll go over things like healthy relationships. We're doing one on sleep, um, alcohol and other drugs. So we really use that time intentionally just to help you build your knowledge base so you can have those better intentional conversations with your peers. On the next slide, I'll talk a little bit more about what our events look like. What is an outreach? What is a campaign? But the main role of a peer educator is to develop, organize, and market well-being campaigns on campus. And so we do that through a few different ways. One you hear me say is an outreach, and those are small events that I say are pop-up events. So you'll see them pop up on campus for about 2 hours, and we have them almost every single week. What we do with an outreach is, and campaigns as well. If you see that wheel on the screen right here, we really focus on holistic well-being. So think about yourself and your peers as the horned frog in the middle of that circle. And all of those things around you are the dimensions of wellness that impact how you show up in the world and how you show up in the horned frog community. So you'll see we have physical wellness, emotional wellness, relational, spiritual, financial, and occupational. So our events cover all of these different topics. So here's some examples of outreaches. So one of them was called LinkedIn Level Up. And so this was talking about your occupational wellness, whether it's you as a student or the career that you want to go into. Some tips on making you stand out on LinkedIn. And then we also had this as an outreach. This one was called Supermarket Madness, and they talked about how to budget for your groceries and to create healthy meals for yourself on a budget. So that kind of leaned both into physical wellness as well as financial. You'll also hear us say things like campaigns. Campaigns are a little bit bigger and you work on a bigger team. So for these outreaches, you work in a small group and you plan that 2-hour event. When you work on something like a campaign, you might be working with the entire team of peer educators or about half of them on your campaign. So I specifically wanted to highlight one of my favorite campaigns that we did last semester, and it was a heart health campaign. So they had multiple events spread out over a week. And this one was super fun. They set up circuit training in the commons and had EDM music playing and just trying to get everybody healthy, teaching them about circuit training and how to take care of their body. Some of the other events they did included stress management and then how to do hands only CPR. So, once again, that reaches a broad range of well-being. So our stress management, maybe our emotional well-being, as well as our physical health. So that one was really fun and exciting. All right, a little bit more about outreaches and campaign. I'll ask Yvonne this question. Is there an outreach or campaign that you remember that stands out to you?
Well, that's a good question. There's so many that come up. I just love really seeing the creativity and the direction that our students take, because sometimes I think they're going to go in one direction and they really take it in a different direction. I'm trying to think one that came up recently. Um, Hmm. Well, I love plants. And so for me, I always try and keep plants around me. And there have been a few that there's a group planning right now I think they're titling it something around like grow your spiritual well-being. But they've also tied it in, I've seen it tied into financial wellness. I've seen it tied into emotional wellness, relational wellness. But I love it when they were able to bring something that's live and growing and bring it in, and they usually have some kind of connection with either taking seeds and potting them, or they might have live plants that they're giving away and people get to take those and they paint their pots and there's some connection there. So that's always fun. But really, I don't know that I have a very specific favorite because they're also unique. They're also different. Last semester, one of the things that was so fun was, I'm not sure if it was the spring or the fall, but we did a sexual health campaign, and it was very reminiscent because they used the theme of the Little Miss, Little Mister books, if you all remember those when you were young. And they made some stickers and had the bright like primary colors. And the stickers were like Little Miss Knows Consent and Little Miss, right? And I was just really thought it was so fun how they got so excited about it, how it really resonated with students on campus. So yeah, there's really not a specific. I just love seeing that creativity come out.
Yeah, and I think that's the really fun part of being a Frog Life educator. Not only are you educating your peers, but you're getting to exercise that creativity and do it in a way that's fun and relatable for your peers. So if you see the pictures we have here on the screen, this is that hands-only CPR I mentioned. This one in the middle was from, I believe, our sexual assault prevention campaign, and they were writing notes and messages to survivors of sexual assault. And then we always do an annual suicide prevention campaign. And I just think that's a really fun picture of the ribbons that we were able to pass out while we were doing tabling about 988, the suicide prevention lifeline. All right. Once again, if you have questions while I'm speaking, feel free to chime in or ask. But I think this is probably what you want to know the most. What do you gain from being a Frog Life educator? We try to help you develop skills that help you in your future career, regardless of what that career looks like. So, working on a team, you're going to build communication skills. So, you'll be communicating with the teams that you're working on, as well as your direct mentor and your supervisor. So, you'll gain some communication skills there. Definitely teamwork skills when you're working on event planning as a group, coming up with ideas, development, time management, planning from A to Z, and that timeline can really help you there. Event planning skills, of course. We do have a little asterisk here because we don't always advertise it, but once a Frog Life educator completes all the requirements of the program, we say thank you with a little stipend. It doesn't necessarily equal out hour by hour of what you put in, but it's our token of appreciation. So a lot of people become peer educators and they were like, I didn't even know about the stipend. And then it's just a nice little treat at the end of the semester. Also, you'll definitely develop leadership skills. You have the potential to serve as a lead for different events and campaigns. So you can go from kind of sitting in the background and learning your first outreach or your first campaign, but then you have that opportunity to really step up and lead the team. And every once in a while, we'll have additional leadership opportunities, whether that's working our wellness front desk or any way that we feel like we could use your skills and talent. And I think at the end of the day, one of the biggest benefits is the friends that you make. So once again, Frog Life educators are from all different majors, all different experiences, all different states. And it really helps you make new friends on campus that you might not have ran into if it wasn't for this. And then with that, you get to reach a lot of your peers as well. So when you're doing those campaigns and you're doing those outreaches, you're really getting to connect with all your peers here on campus. I know Yvonne has some really good examples of what Frog Life educators have gained throughout the year. Do you want to share?
Sure. I think that this is a phenomenal list that kind of overviews the things that you're going to be able to expound on. What the program does is it gives you very specific skill experiences that you can utilize when you are either writing or applying to internships or jobs or graduate programs. I was looking at some of the photos I have around my office in terms of who we've had and people, whether they're in creative writing. I just saw an update from one of our past peer educators that graduated about a year ago. She's now got a job in a publishing company. We've got somebody that finished their master's of social work. We've got several that are in med school. We've got some that are in upper level kind of psychology programs, business. I've got one that's going into a big four firm for accounting, right? Business analytics. But so that's where Kaylee was talking about the skills that you gain really are very transferable across the board, no matter what your career path is, no matter what your major is. Um, but more specifically, some of the things that we are trying to ensure that we are equipping our peer educators with are key skills that employers are looking for, which is those communication skills. Being able to speak effectively to other people, no matter what the topic is, but in a way that's relatable, is non-judgmental, but has confidence, right? Those teamwork skills we see from, if you ever look into research, whether it's with our career center or nationally career centers across the country. There's a lot of competencies that they say employers are looking at. And one is teamwork, the ability to work with others effectively, right? It's not just about being the strong leader at the front or supposed leader, because we know sometimes those leaders are great talkers, but they don't always have the skills to follow through. It's about being effective with teams and with people that don't always think exactly the way that you do. And that's one of the reasons our programs are structured the way that they are, is to really give all of our peer educators the opportunity and ability to work with a multitude of different people. We have a lot of different personalities. And so those opportunities to work in these groups really helps create that ability to talk about a time when you worked with somebody that wasn't like you or didn't think like you. I will say there's actually two in this picture that you all are looking at, two of our students that are seniors that are graduating in December, and they're currently applying to med school. Even in the times when they were looking at jobs with in order to do transcribing and things like that in their current roles with medical practices around the DFW area, talking about how they really do implement a holistic view to well-being, and how they will be medical practitioners and really center patient care in the future is something they've both expressed to me as being a really critical part of their experience and things that they highlighted in their applications. I've written many letters of recommendations over the year. That was also somebody who started, we have another peer educator who started med school this past summer, and he came in, we loved him. He's so fun. Came in with a very his personality is very strong. He's very strong-willed. He comes in very strong with his opinions and his ideas, and it serves him well and will continue to serve him well. But he has talked to me specifically about how being in our program helped him see how he could come across maybe as arrogant or not listening to other people, allowed him to understand kind of some different perspectives or things that he might want to take into consideration when he's working in practice or throughout his med school career. So yeah, I think there's lots of specific skills. Happy to answer questions specifically about that, but hopefully that gives you a few ideas of how this might assist you.
Right. I also want to highlight The essence of what Yvonne was saying to me was the intentionality of our program. So we're super intentional when we create and develop the programs, like I showed you, like a campaign and an outreach, but we are also really intentional about year development. So on this list, it isn't mentioned, but everyone is paired with a professional staff mentor or a GA in our office. And what we do is we help you set goals, not only in your role as a peer educator, but in your personal life, your own well-being, and then as well as your academics. And so we can really help you tailor this role and how it can best serve you and what you're looking to do in the future. All right. Moving on. So you might be asking, what are the requirements to be a Frog Life educator, and do I meet those? I'm going to run through this list. It's pretty straightforward, but you need to be enrolled as a full-time student here at TCU, completed at least one full semester at TCU. You don't have to within your application process. So this is to start spring 2026. So by the time you do start in January, you will have that first full semester under your belt. But why we do that is just so you have had college experience, you've been there for a little bit, you know the campus, and it just helps you serve your peers better when you've kind of had the experience and know college a little bit. We ask that you maintain a minimum GPA of 2.5. Be willing to serve as a positive role model for other students. So you may have heard me talk about some heavy topics. We'll help you navigate those topics, the education on that, but it's really about that positive attitude and maturity when you're talking about sensitive topics. And then to remain in good conduct standing with TCU. So I'm going to go over our application process here in a second, but applications do open on the 13th of this month at 8 a.m. and then they're going to close on the 26th at 11:59 p.m. So we tried to give you a good amount of time for our application process. And our application process isn't long. You go online, you fill out the application, and then you do a interview with either a GA or a professional staff in our office. So pretty straightforward on the interview. If you need help along the way, whether this is with your application or if you have any questions, Yvonne will be your main point of contact. So you'll have her information's here. Feel free to email her. I know I've been contacting you guys. Feel free to email me as well, but I'll be passing a lot of that communication on to Yvonne. And then also if you have general questions, we have our wellness education email. If you lose mine in Yvonne's email, that's okay too. All right. I want to open the floor back up to you guys. What questions do you have about being a Frog Life educator?
So sometimes people have questions about how will this work if I'm onboarding in the middle of the academic year, right? So we do have folks that are current peer educators, some that are returning, some that started new this semester, and then of course we'll be onboarding some new folks next semester. So as Kaylee mentioned earlier in the presentation, we do a training retreat at the beginning of each semester. So that will be one of the opportunities we use to onboard new folks and get them up to speed, as well as do some continuing education with our returning peer educators. We have some folks that are graduating in December, so that's not a problem. And then working with your individual mentor and our ongoing meetings to make sure that you are up to speed. We have some students that are with us for a year, others that stay with us for 3 years. And so we definitely want people to stay and feel like they can be committed. There's so much learning that happens over the course of the year. You get the most out of this if you're able to give at least the full 2 academic semesters. I've even had people in the past who were a part of us for at least a year and then went and studied abroad for a long semester, like a fall semester, and then come back in the spring, or if they're studying abroad in the spring, they come back in the fall. um, and rejoin because they've enjoyed the program or this is something that they really believe in and want to give back to. So that is not something you have to worry about. That is something we take care on our end to make sure that you are trained and feel equipped and ready at any point that you join into our program to be able to serve as a positive influence and mentor and example to other members of the campus community.
All right, I do see one question in our chat, and it's asking, what does the time commitment look like to be a frog life educator? I think that's a great question. So, we usually say that you would give about 4 to 5 hours a week, one of those hours being that weekly meeting I mentioned that happens on Thursdays. Those other hours really do flex between what you have going on that specific week. So, you might be hosting an event that week, so you would have your weekly meeting plus your event time. On the weeks that you aren't doing an event, you would spend your time working and developing those events that are coming up. So you'd be working on marketing, you'd be coming in and cutting your handouts, making handouts, putting together giveaways, or planning with your group. We're pretty flexible when it comes to scheduling. So when you go into your groups to plan an event, your group will work together on a time that works for all of you to be there. So we say it works with your schedule. One of our students, she is a super busy gal. I can't even count on my hands how many organizations she's involved in. And she always says that she always finds a way to make this work with her schedule because of that flexibility to choose the time with her group. So we really do make sure that it works with your schedule and your time. And once again, a lot of that work is going to be on your own time. So on your computer, creating a handout or a marketing piece or something like that.
And then I'll just add a piece. There are other events that are not ones that you all necessarily plan, that either we are planning as staff or in conjunction with other departments or supporting other department events. And we have those up in a Google Sheet where people, all of our peer educators have access. You look ahead and see what events are coming up and what fits your calendar, and you sign yourself up for those different events. So again, just re-emphasizing Kaylee's point that it is based on your own time and availability, but there are multiple things. I mean, we have things going on every single week. You may or may not be involved in an event that week. Some weeks it's going to be things that you plan. Some of the things, it may just be you're showing up for an hour to help us put on an event and do it for the campus community. Or you might be going to a class and presenting to a class or to a student organization, right? There's lots of different things that we are a part of.
All right, I don't see any more questions, but I do want to emphasize again that you have access to my email and Yvonne's if any questions come up along the way. I'm going to go ahead and end the recording of our time together, but Yvonne and I will stay on for a second if you want to chat or ask questions off the recording.
Thanks so much to all of you for attending. We certainly hope we see your